I genuinely think that ITV have saved Celebrity Big Brother.
JoJo looked pretty morose.
He's played a game and the game's been exposed.
I've actually disliked her more since she's left.
It was the classic situation where people go, new hair, don't care. Well, you do. You care enough about it to put a picture of it on the internet.
Yeah, I feel like you should watch Big Brother and actually feel uncomfortable.
Like they said, it's not that deep.
This is the Sun's Celeb Big Brother Breakdown, where we'll be breaking down all of the action for this year's star-studded series. And can you believe it's nearly over? I'm the Sun's Deputy TV Editor Felicity Cross, and I'm in very good company before we reach the live final. Today, I've got more guests than Jack P. Shepherd's had tea bags in the last hour. We've got the Sun's TV Editor Rod McPhee, Fabulous Magazine's assistant editor, Kelly Allen, and the Sun's assistant showbiz editor, Amanda Devlin. Right, guys, so many of you here, so many opinions, so let's get right into it. Rod, you're TV editor, as we know. What is your very official, authoritative view on this year's series?
My official, authoritative view is that I genuinely think that ITV have saved Celebrity Big Brother with this series. Now, that's sticking my neck out, but it was that difficult second series. I think they had to prove themselves. And I think that they got just the right kind of guests. I think they got the right tone and the way they've edited it. I just think that there's been just the right amount of interest and controversy without there being too much controversy. And I think when this series ends, you've got to ask the question, do we want more, or are we glad to see the back of it? And I think the answer is yes, we want more. We want to see another series next year.
Yeah, well, certainly people want this series to go on longer, don't they?
Yeah.
I was talking to someone about this the other day, actually, and they were saying they should just add another week on. I was like, but they would find it very difficult to sign celebrities up for more than 3 weeks. They wouldn't be able to afford celebrities for more than 3 weeks. And then also as a channel, how can they justify giving that 9 p.m. slot to a show like this for longer than about 3 weeks? It's quite a big ask, isn't it? So
a huge ask, because obviously if they're putting it on in prime time, they have to have all the shows lined up for months and months ahead. Just to sort of shoehorn it into the schedules would be really difficult.
Yeah.
And also, I think one of the best things about this series is the caliber of housemates they've got, the level of celebrities. And you can't just turn around to someone who's a big name and go, oh, can you just find another week? You know, we'll bung you another 10 grand or something. It's just impossible.
Yeah. Well, I think certainly the money that they have bunged at people seems to have been worthwhile. I think that we've had the drama, we've had these emotional chats. Kelly, on Fabulous Magazine, you're all about these heart-wrenching emotional interviews. That's what you do. It's your cup of tea.
Oh yeah, it totally is. And I think that's the thing that's been really good there. We've had like Trisha sort of doing her own chat show in there. We've had those deep and meaningfuls with Chris and JoJo, and even with sort of Danny and Donna, we've seen that too, really going deep, sort of lots of talks about how they feel about themselves, what about their careers. Like, you know, it has been pretty deep and meaningful.
Is there any interviews in there that you wish that you could conduct?
Ooh. Like, I would like to get to the bottom of what JoJo, Chris, what's going on there? I mean, I was watching some live feed last night and JoJo looked pretty morose. And I'm just wondering, we know the letters from home have come. Has something happened in there that like maybe has upset her? Has there been some sort of dig about what's going on with Chris? I'm really intrigued by their relationship.
I've got a juicy little exclusive for you later on the letters from home. So Amanda, we obviously chatted on Triple Tuesday. Were you surprised that Angelica, Ella and Patsy left?
I actually wasn't, because when we were here, we were discussing, it was James Barr, the comedian, and we were kind of going back and forth, weren't we, about Patsy. We were rowing about them together because I'm just not her biggest fan at all, and I was so disappointed by her. I've actually disliked her more since she's left. The interviews that she has done on Late and Live, could she be any more miserable? Could she be any more boring? She keeps bringing the tone down. We're all there for a good time. You know what the Late and Live audience are like. They're really up for life, just in general, aren't they?
Yeah.
And so there they are, just like having a really good time. And then she'll just bring the mood down. She just talks about being really zen and amazing. I'm like, oh, she's just driven me absolutely insane.
I quite like how...
So I was happy that she was gone.
She just completely pushes back at this. Everyone else in there, like you say, is being really zany and off the wall. And Patsy's just... No, she just refuses to showbiz in the way that they want her to showbiz, doesn't she?
Yeah, she's zen.
People smile at her, and like rather than her smile back, she just Nothing.
But they're talking about it like she's zen. She isn't zen. She's just miserable. Let's stop using these euphemisms. And I think she's convinced herself that she's zen and she's not miserable. But we've been watching you for weeks now, and you are miserable, love. Sorry.
Do we not think she's just a bit LA? I just think
Could be.
she's been in LA. I mean, the best thing from Patsy was when she told that story about being at Ronnie Wood's and a pole dancer kicking her in the face. That was my favourite moment from her. I sort of like that she's a bit miserable.
That was the one, wasn't it, when they kicked her in the face and she was spark out on the floor and there was blood and there were all those famous people looking after her in the kitchen, wasn't it?
Yeah, I love that. I love a bit of name dropping. What I want from Celebrity Big Brother is more name dropping. Yeah. Say everybody you've ever met in your life. I want to hear about it.
Yeah, Angelica she was offended, wasn't she, when she was actually called out for being a bit of a name dropper.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, if you've got it, flaunt it.
I just think maybe she's become so zen, she's zapped all life out of her body. So we've got our final 6 now. Do we think they're the right final 6, Rod?
On the whole, yes. I mean, look, I would have loved Mickey to have stayed in there. And even though I would have loved to have hated her, I would have liked to have seen Patsy still in there. Because I'm not going to lie, some of the finalists are a little bit bland. I mean, Chesney, you know, I just don't feel like he's giving that much, you know, and even to a lesser degree, Jack P. Shepherd, you know, I'm sorry. No, I like Jack.
Come on.
No, but I just, if I could have picked out if you could have had some of the more controversial people in the final, I think I would have preferred that. Surely you would have wanted that as well.
I would have liked Mickey, but I think Jack P. Shepherd has been brilliant. I remember seeing him at the TV BAFTAs about 15 years ago, dancing with his on-screen mum, Gail Platt, like this. So every time I see him dance, I just think of that. Like, he's been so funny. Like, he went on a complete rant the other night about how he doesn't like Southern water and, you know, his constant drinking of tea. Like, I just love how they cut to him. He's always just drinking a cup of tea. Like, some of the best bits he's got on TikTok are so funny. I think he's really delivered. And I don't actually think we've seen enough of him on the main show, because when you sort of watch some of the behind the scenes stuff and the clips, the unseen bits, he's hilarious. And I'm like, give me more Jack.
It's so true. And anyone that you would have wanted in the final 6 that's not there?
I think it's an amazing final 6. I kind of disagree with you on the fact that they're bland, especially with Chesney, because I think he couldn't be more willing to be whipped. And what more do you want? There he was the other night, like
I think
bending
I missed
over
this episode.
He was bending over in the kitchen because Donna and Danny were doing their whipping, and Chesney hadn't really even been asked, you know, and then there he was, just like bottom in the air, just so up for it.
Yeah, so up for that airtime. So someone that we spoke to very early on in the Celebrity Big Brother Breakdown was WIll Njobvu, TikToker and presenter and podcaster, and he is back to give us his opinion on how the series has gone. Woo. Hi, Will. How's it going?
How's it going? It has been a ride, hasn't it?
Yeah. So talk to me about your highs and lows of the series.
Well, let's talk about the Chris, JoJo and Ella situation. Now, I'm not going to lie, Chris was 100% playing a game. Ella obviously clocked his game, and I feel like now he's somewhat changing his strategy. It got to a point where we started to see Chris kind of almost be somewhat nearly maybe romantic with JoJo, but I think once he realized that, you know, crap, everyone's realized, he's kind of like stepped back just a little bit. And look, it's no secret that this is a reality TV show. It's a game show. And he was drawing to Ella, he was drawing to JoJo, simply because of, I think, who she is on the outside world. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I guess, you know, he's denied it, but he's played a game and the game's been exposed.
Yeah, I think that lots of people agree with you. One of your big opinions, which I loved, was after the launch, you were pretty scathing about Mickey Rourke. And we all know how that played out.
My gosh. You know what? I don't think Mickey should have even been booked on this show. Like, every day I watched him, I'm like, is this man actually stable enough to be here? I mean, gosh, the comments he made to JoJo, the comments he made to Ella were horrific. I mean, we already saw a teaser of his behavior from launch night. And I feel like from that moment on, everyone should have been like, yeah, guys, he's not right for this show. I'm happy he's out. I think he should have left sooner. You know, people on TikTok were calling me a snowflake and, you know, calling me sensitive for making these comments. But at the end of the day, when we watch television, we want to be comfortable with our viewing. And I just was not comfortable watching that man. Was he even comfortable being there himself? I mean, I saw a clip on TikTok of him arriving at the airport back in the States. And I think the press were like asking him about JoJo. And he was like, who's that? You know, like, Just everything about him is just a bit bizarre, and I don't think it's quite right for this show. Of course, I read some articles in the Sun around about the pay being slashed, and guys, I don't think he should even be paid £1, let alone 50 grand or whatever it is it's been cut down to. I just don't think he deserves the money. I don't think he did this show a service. I think some people will argue and be like, no, he's a big Hollywood star. Who cares? You know, there's other celebrities who could have been booked on there and done a great job. I'm not a fan of him, and I don't think he should have been booked on the show.
Oh, I love these opinions. Your followers, like you say, they're opinionated too. That's why they love following you. What are they saying about the series?
Now, they and I are actually saying that this is probably the best Big Brother series we've had since the ITV reboot. Like, I think it feels very, very raw. I think it feels very, very real. It feels like what Big Brother felt like when I was growing up. It's a great cast. There's obviously been controversy. As much as I'm complaining about Mickey, you know, people were talking about it. There's been a lot of drama. There's been great characters. So, yeah, I think it's been positive, and, you know, I want to see it come back again.
Yeah, oh God, absolutely. One of my favourite bits was the family task that they did. The tasks this year have just been incredible. But particularly interested in your opinion on the attempt to go viral with their TikTok dance as CEO of TikTok, as you are. What do you think of that?
Listen, it's just brilliant. It's just banter. And again, that's what I'm saying. It's the vibes of this season and this series and all the games and all the fun, in my opinion, that's kind of made it what it is. Like the other night when I was watching it, I was like, do you know what? There isn't drama today, but I'm laughing my head off. Like there were so many funny moments, you know, the TikTok dance, you know, Danny being a mom. Like there were just so many big highlights that were actually quite comedic. And I would say that, you know, I'm someone who loves drama and reality TV, but there was a lot of comedy in this, and I'm all right with that. So, yeah, I'm here for it.
And who do you want to win?
I mean, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I don't think my winner's even in there anymore. I wanted Ella to win.
Oh.
I wanted Ella to win. But who would I say could be a good winner? Do you know what? Do you know who I think is really, really genuine? And do you know who I think has just been authentic from beginning to end? Danny Beard. Of course. Like, Danny Beard has, from literally entering that house all the way through, Danny has been true to himself, has been honest, has been vulnerable, has been friendly, has been real, hasn't been fake, has said things to people's faces, and has just been 100% himself. So, you know, that is, for me, it's Danny Beard for the win. But I can't lie, I was fuming when Ella left, but hey.
Why did you love Ella so much?
Because Ella is real. Ella is the only one who called out this Chris and JoJo situation. No one else was really saying it. Everyone was doing up hush hush, like, oh, we think this is happening. Ella said it real, raw and straight. And no one else wanted to do that. Ella said it to their faces and people didn't like it, you know? Again, on my TikTok, people were kind of like going against Ella, and I was defending her because I think at the end of the day, she's genuine, she's real, she's honest. And I think that's what people want to see in reality TV.
So you agree with Ella that you think that Chris had latched himself onto JoJo because he wanted that airtime and all those lovely influencing fans of hers?
Of course he did, but you know, it's not a bad thing because it is a game show, it's a reality TV show. But he definitely did that because it's a thing where like he designated a lot of his time to getting to know JoJo. Like he kind of focused on her. And I think people were like, oh, you know, is Ella upset because Chris didn't make advances on her? No, it's the fact that Chris was focusing on getting to know JoJo more than anyone else. Like Chris barely made any effort to get to know anyone else. And Ella obviously felt that energy. So Ella was like, oh, you know, everyone else has made an effort with me. Why haven't you? And she's like, oh, that's why. He's only focusing on her. And I think that's kind of unfair a bit. But at the same time, it is a game. So Chris doing that isn't necessarily a bad thing, but let's just call it out for what it is.
Yeah. Ooh. So who are you going to try and get booked on your podcast, Will? You can't say Ella.
Well, my favorite is Ella, I know. But you know who I also thought was really interesting? Angelica.
Oh.
Now, I found Angelica interesting, especially, in the house and towards the end, and her eviction interview, because Angelica, right, I grew up watching Angelica on JoJo TV, but I felt sometimes throughout the show, she almost kept on saying things like, oh, I'm just so happy to be here. I'm so grateful to be here. I'm like, babe, you are known in Britain. But I feel like sometimes, maybe because the industry's battered her so much, like, I get the vibe that she's literally been battered and bruised by the industry. So much so that she's kind of like lost a little bit of confidence. I guess it was good to see her being vulnerable, but I really kind of do want her to understand that she is maybe bigger than what she is believing herself to be in her head. But I loved her on the show. I thought she was really, really fun. And I thought she was a good vibe. But yeah, I think for me, my 2 favorites who I'd love to have on the podcast, and just favorites in general, probably Angelica and Ella.
I love that.
And
so
Dan.
you'll be straight on the emails to get those booked.
You know me.
Love it. Oh, well, Will, thanks for catching up with us, and we'll speak to you soon.
Speak soon, my darling.
Bye. So lots of chat there for Angelica. Do you think that we saw her grow in that house, Kelly?
I think she sort of said it, she was incredibly bruised by what happened. She lost a job with Martin Lewis. And I think just, having a 25-year career is hard in general. So I think they're right. I think she did lose a bit of herself. And I think she maybe gained it back in there. I personally loved on Late and Live when they showed Michael Underwood and tagged him as Angelica's husband. I'm sorry, he is a children's TV presenter in his own right and should be no such. I'm like, get him in there next year because he's more famous than some of the people that were in there this year. But I think it was a really good thing for her. I think she's come out. Her profile's definitely like on the rise again. Everyone sort of remembered her. And I think that there's so much nostalgia for her that like, I really hope she goes on and does some great things. She's been brilliant on Late and Live as well. I don't know if you've seen her on it. Really sort of came out of herself. I don't know whether that's just coming out of the house and feeling more confident. But like on the show last night, I was like, get her on here more on the regular because she's really good.
Okay, so let's dive into all of the finalists separately. Amanda, I'm going to come to you on Danny, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So what I think is most fascinating about Danny is he made these really unlikely connections. So Michael Fabricant was one of them, Mickey to a certain extent, yet couldn't seem to find that connection with JoJo, who seemed potentially like the most natural fit. Why do you think that is?
I think it does come down to jealousy. I think there was the expectance of them being close and then actually seeing each other as their biggest rival in the house. And I think Danny was interesting last night. I was obsessed with him getting a bit red wine drunk. Because he just kind of started speaking his mind even more so than normal. And that was in particular that moment when JoJo and Chris are in the hot tub and he's just gotten out and he just looks over and he says, I don't want to say what he said, it was a bit vulgar, but he was suggesting maybe they should just get on with things and maybe get a little bit more intimate. Do it or don't do it. He was just saying that.
He did give the
and
Sun
then
shout out.
we got a lovely shout out for the Sun, didn't we?
Absolutely. Was obsessed with that. I was like, yes, Danny's a reader.
Yeah, Danny said, what was it he said? He said, you'll make the front page of the Sun.
Yeah.
Well, there we go. Get on with it and you will.
I think that's still to come for sure. They might be outside the house, they become something. You just don't know. It feels very up and down at the moment. But so yeah, with Danny, I think one of the things that I did feel like after he got saved with the triple eviction, you would naturally be so happy with yourself, wouldn't you? But I thought it was interesting, the contradiction between Chris going into the diary room and sort of saying, God, I hope everyone's all right who went out there, like Angelica, and I hope they feel okay. And then Danny was just crying about how much he's loved. And he does keep dropping these major hints of how much of a huge Big Brother fan he is. Nothing he's doing is by accident. I think that when we keep throwing this bloody game player word around, why is he not being picked up on that? Because he's doing it stunningly well,
Yeah. Well, I had a theory the other day that the reason why the clash between him and JoJo had come about is because they both looked at each other and thought, you're my competition to win. Yeah. And funnily enough, they made up last night because now they know they're both in the final and there's no voting each other out and all that kind of thing. So we'll see.
Yeah, but he's been so entertaining. The highlight being him being a mum, transforming into a mum for that family's task was honestly, I howled with laughter about that. He was great, but he is in it to win it, and I think he's got an incredible chance of doing that as well.
Yeah. Well, the other one that everyone's saying is a massive front runner to win is Donna.
You see, I'm a big fan of Donna because, in contrast to what Will was saying, I think that Big Brother needs a bit of edge. I feel like you should watch Big Brother and actually feel uncomfortable because it's got to be a slice of society.
I agree.
Not everyone can be kind of really pally and have these tiny little mini dramas that should resolve with a hug and a couple of tears. She's got a really dry sense of humor. So I think she's the last person in there that has a bit of edge to them. And I think she's a worthy winner because I don't know, she's still a bit of a mystery. I think that ITV, well, I know that ITV very much see her as talent that they want to nurture for the channel.
Yeah.
You know, she's done one or two things for them before. She did Apocalypse Wow with AJ, which is perhaps
And Chris Hughes.
and Chris Hughes.
Why have they never acknowledged that?
Well, you know, they don't like to join up the dots too much, do they? But I think that she is going to come out of the house, and ITV will very much see her as someone they want to nurture. And I think that this has been a great platform for her.
Yeah.
Do you know my problem with Donna is I think she's very aware of that fact.
Yes.
And I don't feel like I know Donna at all.
No.
I know she lives by herself. I know that she's got a cat.
Yeah.
I know that she doesn't like waking up in the morning. And that is it. Because Donna's gone in there, I think, and played a character. And whether that's because she wants to be employable, let's not forget, last night she pretty much put Danny to bed.
Yeah.
And someone even joked, was it Danny that said, oh, Donna's like, stop it, you're ruining your career.
Yeah.
And I think that Donna probably knows this.
Yeah,
And we're
true.
not getting any authenticity from her.
Well, I don't know, but I mean, the thing is that bad? Because you get other people who put themselves out there that tell you everything that they want you to know about themselves. But actually, is it true? You know,
Yeah.
if we're all talking about these people being game players, how do we know that they're not just playing a game?
Yeah.
And at least, you know, maybe Donna is being her authentic self. Maybe she just doesn't want to share these things. And also, there's an element of mystery to these people. You know, I mean, celebrities go on Strictly and other shows, and they, you know, we don't find out every little cough and spit of their life. So I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. In fact, in some ways, I respect her for it.
I just think don't go on Celebrity Big Brother though.
Yeah.
And
Well, true. I get that, but yeah.
I am feeling very nostalgic for the days of Sharon and Louis just sat bitching
yeah.
about
No holds
everyone in the
barred.
business.
Well,
I
that's
love
the edge that I'm
Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, and if you didn't have Mickey in there, and to a lesser degree Donna,
Yeah.
I think it would have been, you know, that the most edge we would have got would have been just Ella bursting into tears every 10 minutes every time Chris looked at JoJo. And it's like, is that it? No, you need that edge.
Yeah.
Like they said, it's not that deep. So
Yeah.
now
Well,
She
I'm
said it
saying
was very
it's not
deep,
that
but I feel like
Yeah.
she took that very deeply.
It was the classic situation where people go, new hair, don't care. Well, you do. You care enough about it to put a picture of it on the internet.
Yeah, exactly.
And Donna, it's clearly so deep that you're making a song about it not being deep while clearly being
She
very
lost
anguished.
It was quite deep.
Just saying. Someone who I also feel like we've not seen the real version of. Like, who is the real Chesney? Is he the one having a row in karaoke because he was so desperate to sing the song?
I think he was Jack P. Shepherd had it right. He was 100% serious. He was fuming. I mean, he's the
Karaoke is a serious business, guys.
Well,
I'm sorry.
but quite.
but was that the real Chesney, Kelly?
I reckon I've not met Chesney Hawk, so I can't make any assumptions of what he's like as a person. But he was the one and only that didn't get any nominations the whole way through.
Exactly.
So he obviously did something right. He did get
Toasting.
involved, but he coasted, but he did get involved. You know, I think the most dramatic thing that happened to him was when Ella had a go at him for not standing up. And I really felt there. I was like, you could sort of see a panic going, oh my God, have I done something wrong? Have I ruined my career? And I mean, maybe he genuinely felt bad about it. I think he's really nice. I don't have any major feelings of him. If he won, I'd be fuming.
He's not the winner, is he?
He's not the winner, but I think he'll be happy. It'll be good for his career. I mean, he could have been Jason Donovan, as Jack said. I mean, I don't think he just needed a sort of 80s singer. And that's it.
Oh, God. Imagine going in there and people being like, could have been Jason Donovan, though.
I mean, isn't he, dare I say, isn't he just really boring? I mean, I just sit and watch him. And
Right, you need to watch this whipping scene because
I mean, I'm not sure one whipping scene will rescue him. And I mean, yeah, I don't know. I thought he was going to go in there and he would be seen as really boring, but ta-da, it turns out he's not. Well, ta-da, it turns out he is. I mean, I know you've got this whipping scene in your mind, but I think he needed to do a lot more than that. But I agree with you, Kelly. I think if he wins, it would be a real shame because I think other people are more deserving.
Yeah.
Also, he talked loads about being a nudist before he went in. We've not seen any of that. Like,
Outrageous.
Let's
Get
go
your
back.
top off.
Yeah.
Kelly's disappointed.
No, with the original Big Brother, like I remember the producers being shocked because they all stripped naked and were like doing mud things against the walls in their naked bodies. Why wasn't he going, let's all get our clothes off, let's all be wild? There was none of that.
No.
He was tame.
Okay, so message to Chesney, we need a bit more flesh. And then we'll consider voting you the winner. So people who haven't been afraid to flash the flesh and touch the flesh, Chris and JoJo, again in the hot tub last night, which sparked that comment from Danny. So the big talking point has been, what does JoJo's partner, Kath, think about this? So little exclusive for you all. Drum roll. So the letters from home, as you said, Kelly, they've got them. And Kath has included a message to JoJo. So the letter comes from her mum, but there's a message in there from Kath. So we're going to all find out tonight what Kath really thinks. So my theory is she won't even mention Chris.
No.
What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think she.
Well, why do you think so? Do you think she's just going to pretend like it's not happened? It's like, I'm furious with her, we'll deal with this later.
Well,
just wait till I get you home, kind of thing.
Well, I've dived into the socials on this, and Kath hasn't commented on anything to do with JoJo and Celebrity Big Brother since April the 11th.
Okay.
And before that, it was daily support, daily comments, and since then, silence. So.
Wow.
It's giving Preston and Chanel whenever he had a girlfriend on the outside that just suddenly went off.
Yeah. And our favourites, Jeremy and Stephanie, obviously, that iconic series. So let's have a quick chat about JoJo. Do we think she's going to win, or will this situationship drama with Chris hold her back?
I don't think she'll win. I'm going to stick my neck out and say that. I don't think she's endeared herself to the public. And I always feel a little bit sorry because I think Chris and her are doing a bit of a bad thing here. It's a proper game. And I think that people, and this is terribly wrong, is that in those such situations, people always judge the woman worse.
I think he's being judged quite hard.
Oh, well, I think he has, but she's the one that has a partner. So I think she'll get just quite harshly for that. And like you're saying, you don't know what the exact setup is. But
She did describe Chris as her baby, though, in last night's episode. So it is clear that there's obviously like a lot of confusion about what their dynamics actually are. I feel like I'm against everyone else on the internet, but I have really liked watching her. I think she is so level-headed and grounded and wise, and someone who has been that kind of voice of reason throughout. Actually, she's been, I think, like a really super personality.
I think JoJo will win.
Oh, well, that's interesting. But you say she's wise. Well, is it wise to go on a reality TV show watched by millions of people when you've got a partner and flirt outrageously with a man?
Well, we've no idea of their dynamics.
No,
Maybe they have a very open
but
relationship.
I don't know. I wouldn't call that wise, but it could really backfire on her.
Well, last night she actually sort of brushed off Danny's comments, and she was like, "Oh, she won't care." So maybe their situation.
Because if she's not seeing him romantically and they're just, very much touchy-feely. I mean, they lots of her fans have shown how she is like that with a lot of her male friends on the outside. I mean, I do think there is obviously something between them. They've just got this incredible connection, but it doesn't need to be romantic. It doesn't have to be.
But she's not been touchy-feely with any other man. It just so happens that she's touchy-feely with the hunky guy who used to be on Love Island.
I don't think it happens to me.
But Danny and Donna are quite touchy-feely, and people aren't giving the same level of criticism. And I don't know if that's an age difference thing. But I don't see
He's not got the same bond with anyone else.
Is it just because Chris will always be cast in that romantic vibe? He was famous because of Love Island, and therefore he will always be seen as the love interest. And maybe that's why we all automatically think of him as like a leading man.
That. Yeah. And I think Odie Mabuse said, which I thought was really interesting, she's like, she's a dancer, and dancers we touch each other and we don't think anything of it. Like, we don't think of it in the same way as mere mortals with putting our hands on each other, because we do it day in, day out. So maybe that's it. I know she's not doing it with anyone else, but that's who she's got her connection with.
Kelly, you showed me a picture the other day of you and baby Chris. You and baby Chris, all the collagen.
Oh my goodness, we were so young. And that was
beautiful. Just when he was out of Love Island.
He had just left Love Island. And I actually, look, I'm Team Chris. I bet on him before he went in. I spoke to him before he went in I gave him some tips of the house. I told him not to get drawn into rows. And I just feel really sorry for him. He's a beautiful man, but I am not sure he is Machiavellian enough to have a game plan. And I just think, he's got such a good friendship with GK Barry, and I think it's a bit like that he's also really tactile. I was looking at a picture the last time I saw him. He is holding my hand in the picture, like just randomly holding it. And I think that's just what he's like. He's just quite a touchy-feely person. Yeah. He likes touch. But I met him when he came out of the Love Island villa. And I think the thing that struck me about him then was I met him because he was doing a campaign for CAM to raise awareness about men talking about their mental health, because he's had horrific anxiety through his life, really struggled with some really dark times. And when everyone else was off getting their PLT deals, he was sort of like using his platform for good. And like, I sort of feel like all through his career, he's sort of done that. So like, I've got a lot of time for him. He's a really nice guy. And I actually would love it if he won. I don't think he will now, but I think he deserves to win. He's been really entertaining and I like him.
He doesn't
He's
deserve
great
the
to look at
booze,
as well.
does he?
He doesn't deserve the booze,
No,
and he'll take them really to heart. And I think that's the thing. He'll be worrying about that. You know, that famous meme where he's sitting in bed in Love Island. That would have been him the other night, going, "Why are they booing me?"
I mean, do you think he's been entertaining? Because I think the part he's played is very much the part of the hunk of the house, which is fine. That's good. But I don't really think he's particularly funny or clever or added that much. He's not created any great controversies.
Say what you really think.
Well, it's true.
If you look back,
True.
I think the big moment was obviously when Mickey sort of had his run-in with JoJo, and he stood up and said, "No, you can't say that." And I'm like,
Yeah.
And I know, like, you know, white straight men don't have to do a huge amount to be praised, but he didn't have to. He could have sat back. Other people were criticised for sitting back, and and you know, that could have backfired on him.
True.
But his instinct in that moment was stand up for that younger girl who was truly upset.
Yeah.
And I think he's been quite open.
He's been at the centre of most of the big things in the house that have happened.
Yeah.
You know, stepping in with Mickey and doing all of the whole JoJo. We've talked about that every day, JoJo and Chris. So it is.
Yeah,
They've been the entertaining too.
Yeah.
And I mean, the Ella stuff as well. I just think, I think he's been quite centre for everything. And Jack actually said in the show last night, if you hadn't been here, my experience wouldn't have been as good. I just always wonder what we don't see. Like, you know, when that's the annoying thing of only having an hour a night. You're like, what else is going on? What are Chris and Jack getting up to?
Well, exactly. We've hardly seen any of that bromance, which apparently has been going on.
Yeah.
I mean, the best thing that I think we've learned about Jack is his one-man crusade against the London water. And Jack, we hear you. We know about his tea bags. Lovely little name drop for Ken Barlow the
Love
other day.
Not so lovely.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love the fact he just calls him David the whole time.
Don't underestimate Coronation Street fans.
No,
Yeah.
soap fans in general
Soap
on
fans
reality
are-
shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard something really funny about Jack from our sources on Corrie. Obviously, all the cast are backing him, but they are completely horrified by how often he's wearing these tiny little pants on screen.
Oh, yeah.
And they're thrilled he's not getting more airtime because they're like, we don't need to see this, Jack, which just made me laugh so much. You can just imagine.
It's a lot to show off there, isn't it?
There was quite the clip on the live feed last night.
It really
It was
was.
like-
Yeah, I couldn't believe it.
Exactly. Exactly. So yeah, I guess we're at a fan-based situation because there's these 6 people here. We know the Facebook mums always love the soaps. Yeah. We've got the soap fans. The Love Island contingent are really behind Chris. The mums and the people that love the romance. Does that mean that the likes of Chesney is just going to completely fall by the wayside? Danny, Donna?
Danny has the gays, and they are. And I think also he is a Big Brother sort of aficionado. He's been on Late and Live a lot, so I think he's got a real fan base there. I wouldn't be surprised if Danny won. To be honest.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I think I'd like JoJo or Chris, but I think Danny probably will win.
I mean, you're absolutely right. You said before, don't underestimate the soap vote because that gets everyone from your Gen Zs through to your grannies. And he's been on the show for 25 years. Been on since he was a kid. So he has a huge fan base personally. The show has a huge fan base. I'm going to stick my neck out and say that Jack could win it on that alone.
He would be the first straight winner on the ITV.
Oh,
Is that right? Yeah. So I think that he's a dark horse in that way, and it's more likely to be JoJo or Danny. But he's been a favourite of mine. I really disliked him at the start, but he's just got that humour where it's just a bit dark.
Yeah.
He's just in the background. He's observing, but he'll come out with these killer lines. And I've actually really enjoyed watching his bromance with Chris. We've always focused on JoJo, but when you watch the live stream, you can see how close they are. And last night, it was Chris, Jack, and Chesney who were just sitting, chatting away, and it was nice to see that. I like those moments of a bit more normality to see what they're like, and I think him and Chris bounce off really well together.
I sort of agree. I loved all that, and I think that he's had some great things, like some great social media clips of his dancing, which has been exceptional. The drinking of the tea. And also he just doesn't take it seriously. Like he could not care less. In the live nominations, when they did the golden egg, he just went and really wet himself. And I love that. Like, it is just TV. It's not like life or death. And some people treat it so seriously. He's just a bit like, oh, well, probably because he's got a very secure, well-paid job. We haven't learned a lot about his. I would like to know more about the girlfriend. She works in Coronation Street. They're getting married. We didn't get loads on that, except for he wouldn't have Greg's at the wedding, and it's quite expensive getting married.
Yeah, his obsession with advertisement is kind of my favourite thing
He's
as well.
from the north, you know. That's what we do.
I mean, obviously he's going to land some sort of tea deal,
but
it will be blocked by
tea
Corrie. It
deal.
needs to be more social media based than TV adverts because they can't do all of that stuff. But I mean, he deserves it because he has championed tea. Even when he mentions it puts me in the mood.
We're not going to be championing tea more. I feel like
People like tea.
Amanda, are you sponsored by tea?
Actually, can we cut to an ad break?
He's like me when I drink tea. Sometimes I drink a cup of tea.
No,
I'll have another one.
can we stop talking about tea? I'm only interested in tea as in gossip.
More tea.
But did you see on Late and Live?
No, more tea.
I do wonder what he's
Fine.
going to do next. Will he just go back to Corrie? Because he's built up quite a profile for himself now, and he probably could go on to other things. And he's still quite a young guy.
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
he's been on the show for ages, but it's just, but that's just because he's been on it since he was 10 or something like that. So
He's been drinking tea since he was... Right, guys, quick fire. One name. Rod, who's going to win?
Danny Beard.
JoJo.
Oh, my gut is saying Danny.
One word.
Danny. Danny.
And I'm saying JoJo. Well, I can't wait for us all to be proven completely wrong when the final happens tomorrow. Well, thank you all for joining me today with all your thoughts and comments and stories about the housemates. Love it. And that's it from us for this series. What a ride it's been, from Tiffany Pollard spilling all on her backstage beef with Trisha Goddard to Ella Ray Wise blocking one of our journalists, and the big reveal that Chris Hughes has been secretly texting a Strictly star. Remember, you can listen to the Celeb Big Brother Breakdown wherever you get your podcasts, and watch, like and subscribe to us on the Sun Showbiz YouTube for all things famous. And we'll be back with your next telefix very soon. See ya.